My child, my beloved. Please don't scroll. Don't ignore this. Not this time. Because what I'm about to tell you is something that can no longer be hidden. Last night, while you were sleeping, someone you love was speaking about you. And heaven heard it. I, Archangel Michael, was standing right there, not to judge, but to warn you, to protect your heart before it gets broken more deeply than it already has. Beloved, what you're about to discover will feel like a sharp wind cutting through your spirit. You weren't supposed to know. They hoped you'd never find out, but I have permission now to show you exactly what happened. Before I reveal it, I beg you to take a deep breath. The truth is not easy, but it will set you free. Subscribe now to stay protected, because what you're going to hear from me in the coming days will reveal even deeper secrets about your family, your love life, and your destiny. My beloved, you trusted them. You defended them even when others doubted their heart. You prayed for them. You carried their pain as if it were your own. And last night, they used your name like it was nothing. They laughed, not a mistake, not a slip, but a deep betrayal, a choice. Heaven wrote it down. God looked toward you and asked me to deliver this message: do not remain blind to the ones you feed with your loyalty, but who starve you of truth. My child, why is it always the ones closest to us that hold the sharpest knives? They are the ones we would cry for, run for, and die for. Yet, they sometimes hide things in the dark. And you've been in the dark for far too long. But I am lighting a flame now, not to burn bridges, but to burn away the lies they told in your absence. My beloved, I know your heart is gentle. I know you don't want to believe it, but you've already felt it in your bones, haven't you? You've seen the shift in their eyes, the mismatched words and energy, the hollow smiles. You're not crazy. You're not paranoid. You're prophetic because your soul already knew that a truth would break out this month like thunder across your skies. My child, my beloved, listen carefully. You are not losing anyone. They already lost you when they chose deception, when they spoke without love, when they looked you in the eyes and pretended nothing was wrong. But heaven watched it all. Now, a shift is coming in your relationships. You will not chase. You will not beg. You will be elevated. My beloved, God is not trying to hurt you. He's trying to heal you through truth. That's why this message couldn't be blocked today. Heaven tried sending you signs before, dreams, delays, sudden discomfort around this person. You kept asking, why does it feel off? Now you know. Last night, they exposed themselves, and heaven heard it word for word. What you're about to realize may hurt at first, but it will also liberate you from years of hidden pain. What heaven revealed last night isn't just a moment of betrayal, it is a mirror reflecting the quiet loneliness you've been carrying in this relationship while pretending everything was fine. Yes, beloved, we saw how much effort you put in. We saw how you kept showing up for someone who only showed up for you when it was convenient. And yet, you called it love. You wrapped their silence in kindness. You excused their absence with patience. But what happened last night cannot be brushed under any rug. God allowed you to be blind for a while, not because He wanted you to suffer, but because He wanted to see how far your love could stretch. And beloved, it stretched beyond measure. You proved your loyalty. You proved your heart. And now that you've passed that test, God says it's time for you to see the full picture. Even if it shatters the illusion, it will set your destiny free. My beloved, you were never meant to live a life surrounded by shadows. You were never meant to guess who is for you and who is against you. That's why this message came today. Because last night, something happened behind your back, but God allowed it to be recorded in the divine archives of heaven. You may not have the physical evidence yet, but your spirit has already been alerted. That unease you felt today, that subtle heartbreak you couldn't explain, it was real. It was spiritual because someone spoke about you in a way that revealed their true intentions, not the version they show in front of you. No, the one they only express when they think you'll never hear. But heaven hears all. I, Archangel Michael, was commanded to bring you this truth, not as punishment, but as preparation. Soon, this truth will come out in front of you. A slip of the tongue, a joke that isn't funny, a confession that spills over accidentally. And when it does, you will remember this moment that you were already warned, protected, and spiritually prepared. My child, the reason this hurts so deeply is that you loved them purely. You didn't love them halfway. You didn't use them. You gave and gave and gave, even from the parts of yourself that were already tired. You watered their dreams even when your own soul was thirsty. You supported them in silence. And yet, when the time came for them to defend your name, they became the loudest silence in the room. Not only did they not speak up for you, but they allowed your name to be twisted, misused, and misunderstood. And that's what broke heaven's heart. Heaven does not grieve because they were imperfect, everyone makes mistakes. It grieves because they didn't protect the one person who would have walked through fire for them. That person is you, beloved. And that's why heaven has chosen you, not just for protection, but for promotion. This betrayal was the final proof that you are ready to rise without those who secretly hoped you'd fall. You are not here by accident. You are here because God wants you to see what was hidden so you can stop shrinking for people who were never capable of holding the weight of your light. My beloved, there is something else I must say. You may feel tempted to confront them, to ask questions, to beg for honesty. But heaven says, wait, do not act from pain. Let God reveal it His way. Because when truth comes from heaven, it is undeniable. You won't need to beg for confessions. You won't need to look through messages or chase after explanations. The very people who wronged you will be the ones to uncover themselves. Their own conscience will turn on them, their own guilt will echo so loudly they won't be able to sleep. And you will stand in peace because your power is not in exposing others. Your power is in being aligned with truth. Let them talk. Let them whisper. Let them laugh behind closed doors. But remember this, no one who tries to bury someone chosen by God will go unshaken. What they meant for your harm will become the very thing God uses to elevate your name. And that moment is not far, it's already in motion. And beloved, I will be right there when it happens. Even if no one around you sees what you are going through, I do. I see how you smile so others feel comfortable, even when your own soul is trembling. I see how you keep secrets that hurt you just to protect the peace of others. And now heaven sees it too. What happened last night was not a random conversation, it was a spiritual turning point, a moment that marked the end of hidden pain and the beginning of heavenly justice. The person who spoke about you wasn't just venting, they were exposing what they really think when you're not around. And though you may want to deny it, something in your spirit already knows this is true. They've been acting strange, pulling away. Or maybe they've been overly sweet, too sweet in fact, to cover up a guilty conscience. But nothing can remain hidden when God decides it is time to reveal. And beloved, the time is now. You've walked long enough with uncertainty. You've cried silently in rooms where no one even noticed. But I, Archangel Michael, have noticed, and God has sent me to stand beside you now, not to help you fight them, but to help you walk away in peace when the truth comes crashing down. My beloved, sometimes it's not the betrayal that hurts the most, it's the fact that you loved them so honestly. You told them things no one else knows. You let them see your softest, most vulnerable pieces. You trusted them with your dreams, your fears, your scars. And now, to find out they mocked your name when you weren't looking, it feels like a dagger. But my beloved, I must say this to you with divine strength, you did not make a mistake by loving them. Don't let their betrayal change the goodness inside you. You loved purely, they lived falsely. That is not your shame to carry. In fact, heaven is proud of the heart you've shown, and now God is about to restore what they tried to break in you. They thought you wouldn't find out. They believed their secret conversation would stay in the dark. But no one can hide from the eyes of the Most High. What they whispered behind your back has already become thunder in heaven's courtroom. And the verdict is clear: you are not to be punished, you are to be promoted. There's a seat being prepared for you, a higher seat where none of their opinions will matter. A circle where betrayal cannot enter. And the door to that place is already opening. Can you feel it? Everything in your life is being shaken right now because elevation is coming, and not everyone is meant to go with you. You may be tempted to doubt this message, to think, but I haven't seen the evidence yet. But listen closely, child, just because you don't see the storm doesn't mean the lightning hasn't already struck. You are in a spiritual season where God is removing blindfolds. You are being forced to feel what you've ignored for too long. Those sleepless nights, that tightness in your chest, that gut feeling that something was off, it wasn't random. It was heaven trying to tap on your shoulder, trying to get you to see the mask someone close to you has been wearing, and the mask is slipping. Soon, the truth will be undeniable. You'll see a conversation, a comment, or a small incident that will confirm everything. And it won't be your job to expose them. No, that's God's job. Your only responsibility is to protect your peace, hold your position, and prepare for what's coming next. Because what's ahead of you, beloved, is far greater than what's behind you. That's why the truth had to come. God didn't want you building your future with someone who secretly speaks death over your name. And if you knew how much bigger your destiny is, you would understand why this exposure had to happen today. There is a sacred reason this message has reached your eyes right now and not a moment earlier. You see, timing in heaven is never random. You may think you're just scrolling, just watching, just passing time. But in the spiritual realm, this very second has been divinely scheduled for your awakening. What was said last night, the conversation behind your back, pierced a spiritual veil, one that once kept you from seeing the true intentions of someone you love. It was mercy that kept the truth hidden while your heart wasn't ready. But now you are ready. God knows you are strong enough. I, Archangel Michael, have been standing by, waiting for permission to open your eyes fully. And now the veil has torn. You will begin to see signs you never noticed before. Watch their body language. Listen to how they speak about others, for that is the same way they've spoken about you. The same tone, the same coldness, the same bitterness they've hidden behind shallow smiles. But my child, you are not meant to live surrounded by wolves disguised as family. You are not meant to sit at tables where your name is passed around like gossip instead of prayer. Heaven is intervening. And when heaven intervenes, the truth always surfaces, no matter how deep it was buried. My child, my beloved, you've been feeling strange lately, haven't you? Restless, anxious for no reason. Or perhaps a quiet sadness has crept in without warning, making you withdraw, question yourself, or feel disconnected from people you once felt close to. This isn't just emotion, it's spiritual warfare. Your soul is picking up on the betrayal your mind has not fully understood yet. What happened last night wasn't just about words. It was a release. Something in the spiritual world shifted. The person you love, the one you trusted, crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. Not just with you, but with heaven. They broke a spiritual covenant by speaking your name without honor, and now there is a consequence in motion. Don't seek revenge. Don't even pray for their downfall. Just stay aligned with God and let the divine order rearrange your surroundings. Because soon, without you lifting a finger, the truth will come walking into your life dressed in undeniable evidence, and you'll have a choice to make. Will you stay where you are, in a place of false comfort, or will you walk into the unknown, trusting that what's ahead of you is better than what's familiar but poisonous? You already know the answer. And that's why this message has come, not to tell you what to do, but to confirm what your soul has been whispering. There is something sacred about the moment when truth finally breaks through silence. For so long, you've been walking through life with a weight on your spirit that had no name. A heaviness that didn't come from your actions but from the hidden energy surrounding you. What was spoken behind your back last night was simply the final thread snapping, the last veil being torn. God has been warning you gently in your dreams, in your body's intuition, in the way your energy would shift around certain people. And now the final confirmation has come. Heaven heard it all. Every word they thought you'd never know about, every sentence that twisted your kindness into weakness, every whisper that tried to reduce your light to a rumor. And yet God is not angry, He is grieved, not because you were fooled, but because someone chose to dishonor the very soul who has been carrying them in prayer. But my beloved, you are not a victim of this story. You are the miracle rising from it. What they tried to sabotage has already been secured by heaven. And in the coming days, they will look for you where they left you, and you won't be there. Because spiritually, God is elevating you to a place they can no longer reach. I know what you're thinking. What if I still love them? What if I'm not ready to let go? Oh, child, heaven understands your heart more than anyone else ever could. This is not about vengeance, this is about vision. Your future is too sacred to be tied to someone whose words are poisonous when your back is turned. Love is not supposed to feel like guessing games, loyalty is not something that disappears when the room changes. You are meant to be surrounded by people who speak your name with reverence, even when you're not in the room. And that's why this exposure is so important. God is not punishing you, He is positioning you. Positioning you for relationships that mirror the love you give, for friendships that refill your cup instead of emptying it, for a spiritual circle where your light is not threatened, it is celebrated. This is the part of the journey where you must release your grip from people who only held you when it was easy for them. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's painful. But beloved, what's coming next will make you understand why the truth had to break your heart before it could set your destiny free. You have sacrificed so much for people who never even thanked you. You've sat in the background clapping for others even when no one clapped for you. Still, you never stopped giving. That's why this moment is so powerful, because heaven is shifting the story now. You will no longer be the background character in your own life. God is placing you at the center of a divine restoration. Everything you lost, peace, trust, opportunities, time, it's all coming back. But not in the same form. No, this return will be richer, wiser, and pure. That's what betrayal does when God handles it. It refines you instead of ruining you. And I need you to hear this clearly. You are not being left behind, you are being lifted up. The people who spoke against you last night have unknowingly activated your next season. What they said was meant to destroy your name, but heaven has flipped the script. Now your name will be called in rooms of blessing. Doors will open that they tried to shut with their gossip. And those who laughed behind your back will be silenced by your breakthrough. I know it feels unfair. I know you're asking, why would God allow me to be hurt by someone I love this much? But let me tell you a secret that only the angels know. Sometimes God allows heartbreak to become the compass that redirects you. Sometimes a betrayal is not a punishment but a path. You would have stayed, beloved. You would have kept pouring into them, kept ignoring your own needs, kept dimming your light just to keep them from feeling small. But heaven saw how exhausted you were behind your strong face. God saw how often you smiled while feeling forgotten. And He said, no more. So He allowed the truth to rise. He allowed the mask to fall. He allowed the conversation last night to be overheard in the spirit. Because if He didn't, you would still be dancing in the shadows of someone else's broken loyalty. You are not meant to beg to be seen. You are not meant to keep chasing understanding from someone who cannot even grasp the weight of your soul. And so God broke it. Not to punish you, but to set you free. This pain you're feeling is sacred because it is reshaping the way your heart chooses. No longer will you be drawn to people who only admire your light but cannot handle your wounds. No longer will you confuse effort with love. You see now, don't you? You see how they cheered for you when you were useful and vanished when you were vulnerable. The conversation that happened last night revealed their truth, not yours. They mocked what they didn't understand. They twisted your devotion into something disposable. But heaven took note. Even though you weren't in the room physically, your spirit was defended. I, Archangel Michael, was there. I stood between your name and their words, declaring, "No more shall this one be slandered in silence." And beloved, when heaven declares that, the ground begins to shift. Do not be surprised when people start falling away. Do not be shocked when some friendships dissolve like mist in the morning light. That's not abandonment, that's alignment. You are not losing them, they are losing access to the version of you that tolerated lies disguised as loyalty. My child, my beloved, I know your heart still remembers the good times. I know you're trying to make sense of how someone who once held your hand could now use your name as a weapon. But the truth is, sometimes the ones we love are only meant to be part of a season, not our story's ending. What happened last night was a divine expiration. Their chapter in your life has been gently but firmly closed. And now the author of your soul is writing something new. This new chapter begins with clarity, with courage, with truth. You will no longer guess who is for you. The masks are coming off. The real ones will remain, and the rest will remove themselves without your begging. Let them. Don't run after anyone God is removing. Don't cling to what was only meant to teach you. Because beloved, what's ahead of you is richer, purer, and built on foundations that don't crumble behind your back. You are stepping into a season where love will not hurt you, where truth will not be hidden, and where your name will only be spoken in rooms where your presence is honored. This is your divine justice. This is the reward for your silent endurance, and it is beginning now. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when truth arrives not with a whisper but with a roar. And last night, heaven decided that your moment had come. The truth that was hidden behind rehearsed smiles and carefully crafted lies was no longer allowed to fester in the dark. God has watched you love with purity, forgive without receiving an apology, and give with no expectation in return. For a time, you were rewarded with silence. But last night, when your name was carelessly placed in someone else's mouth, that silence was shattered. Not because God was angry at them, but because God was ready to rescue you. Yes, beloved, rescue. Because even though you thought you were walking freely, you were surrounded by a prison made of invisible chains, chains of emotional manipulation, false loyalty, and broken promises. And when that conversation happened, when they spoke about you like you weren't a sacred soul, heaven said enough. Now you stand in a sacred place, a place of grief, yes, but also a place of power. Because now that you see clearly, you can no longer be bound by false bonds. What once confused you will now confirm you. What once wounded you will now wake you. And what once stole your peace will now spark your purpose. You have spent far too many nights replaying moments in your mind, trying to convince yourself that maybe you misunderstood, that maybe their coldness was just stress, that maybe their silence was just fatigue. But deep down, you've always known. Your soul is far wiser than your words. The way they spoke about you, the way they twisted your name as if it were disposable, was the final confirmation your spirit had been seeking. This isn't about being dramatic, this is about honoring the voice inside you that you've silenced for too long, the voice that told you something wasn't right, the voice that said you don't deserve to be treated like this. Now that the truth is here, you cannot unknow it. You cannot go back to pretending. And you shouldn't. The version of you who tolerated dishonor has outgrown the room. God has called you to higher places, and the higher you rise, the more you will see. Not everyone who started with you can stay with you, especially not those who can't handle your elevation. This betrayal isn't just a moment, it's a mirror, revealing where you've been settling, where you've been shrinking, and where you've been sacrificing your worth for crumbs of affection. But no more, beloved. No more. My child, my beloved, I know the memories still cling to your heart like dew on morning grass. I know you still see their face when you close your eyes and remember the laughter, the shared moments, the plans. But I must tell you something that will set you free, love is not meant to be lopsided. Love is not meant to drain you while it fuels them. Any connection that asks you to abandon yourself to keep it alive is not love, it's spiritual suffocation. That is why God had to bring this to light. Not because He wants you to hate them, not because He wants you to become bitter, but because He wants you to heal. He wants to rewrite your definition of love. He wants to introduce you to the kind of people who will hold your name with the same tenderness you give to theirs. And they are coming. Beloved, first you must let go of those who have already shown you their true heart. Forgiveness is not the same as re-entry. You can forgive them. You can bless them, but you do not have to keep inviting them into your sacred space. You are holy ground now, and only those who walk in honor will be allowed to stand beside you in this next chapter. You may not realize it yet, but this heartbreak is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your spiritual freedom. So many times, you've made room for people who didn't make room for you. You bent your boundaries. You stayed silent when you should have spoken. You loved harder just to make up for how little they gave. And in the process, you slowly started abandoning pieces of yourself. But God has been watching, not with anger, but with sorrow, because He never created you to be a placeholder in someone else's life. You were never meant to be the backup plan, the convenience, or the emotional crutch for someone who didn't even pray for you in return. That's why the betrayal that happened last night wasn't allowed to remain hidden. You've been asking God to bless you, and He cannot bless what you are still pretending not to see. The truth had to come out, not to break you, but to break what's been holding you back. The version of you that's about to rise from this pain is bold, is clear, and will no longer say yes out of guilt or obligation. That version knows that loyalty without reciprocity is not love, it's bondage. Heaven has come to release you from it. My beloved, you were never wrong for loving them. That love came from the purity of your soul. But what you must learn now is this: just because love is given doesn't mean it will be returned with equal depth. Some people do not know how to carry the kind of heart you have. They fumble it, mock it, and betray it because they cannot understand its rarity. When they do, it is not a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of their lack. But God is not going to allow your loyalty to be a curse any longer. From this moment on, the people entering your life will not be assigned to distract you. They will be assigned to develop you, to love you in return, to speak your name with the same reverence you use when speaking theirs. But before they arrive, something must fall away. And yes, it will hurt. Yes, you will cry, but let yourself cry, beloved. Every tear is heaven watering the new soil you will soon walk on. Something sacred is coming. But first, something false had to be exposed. And last night, it finally was. You may not know all the details yet, but you don't need to because your soul already heard what your ears weren't meant to. That discomfort in your chest, that ache you felt without reason, was your spirit reacting to a truth that had just surfaced. And now I have come to confirm it. There is a certain silence that comes after a betrayal, a sacred stillness. It feels like time freezes. You begin to retrace steps, question words, replay moments, wondering how long this deception has lived in the dark. But heaven does not reveal truth to leave you confused. No, child. It reveals to set your spirit in order. What happened last night wasn't the beginning of their betrayal, it was the exposure of it. It's been happening for longer than you think: quiet comments, hidden envy, manipulated narratives. But now God has pulled the curtain back, and you have a choice to make. Will you pretend you didn't see it, or will you finally walk into the truth you were born to stand in? What's waiting for you on the other side of this decision is everything you've prayed for: peace, respect, alignment. But you can't carry betrayal into blessing. That's why this had to happen now, before your breakthrough, before your promotion, before your destiny arrives. You had to be cleaned of false connections. Though it hurts now, you will look back and say, "Thank you, God, for saving me from what I was still willing to settle for." You've spent too long living with half-truths. too long accepting silence as love and distance as loyalty. But now, in this sacred moment, God has pulled back the veil so that you no longer have to guess. You no longer have to fight to be understood by people who were never meant to hold your heart in the first place. Last night's conversation wasn't just a betrayal. It was the conclusion of a chapter you've been trying to keep open out of hope. But beloved, hope without truth becomes delusion. Heaven loves you too much to let you stay in a story that no longer honors your soul. That's why I was sent, not to frighten you, but to free you. I saw what they said. I heard how they laughed. I witnessed the way your name was spoken as if it held no weight. And yet you carry theirs like a prayer. But not anymore. No more shall your name be handed over in rooms you were never invited into. No more shall you defend people who would not even correct a lie for you. Your heart has been faithful. Your spirit has been patient. And now your crown is being restored. You may not see it yet, but you are rising, higher than they thought you would, stronger than they believed you could be without them. There is something God wants to give you, but He could not release it while you were still tied to false agreements. The reason you felt stuck, confused, or delayed wasn't because you lacked faith, it was because your spirit was being drained by people who secretly hoped you wouldn't grow beyond them. They feared your light because it exposed their shadows. So instead of standing beside you, they stood behind you, not to support you, but to speak against you when they thought heaven wasn't listening. But God hears everything. And last night, He heard enough. The conversation that took place was the final line drawn in the sand. Now your life is about to shift, suddenly, permanently, supernaturally. Yes, it will feel lonely at first. But trust this, heaven never subtracts without multiplying later. The people you are about to meet, the ones you are being aligned with, will carry your name with dignity. They will not make you doubt yourself, they will not gaslight your spirit. They will speak about you with the same light you have always carried. And when they arrive, you'll look back at this heartbreak and see it as your deliverance. You've been trained in pain long enough. You've walked through fire, prayed through silence, and endured storms while still holding umbrellas for others. Heaven has watched it all, not one moment has gone unseen. The betrayal revealed to you last night was simply a final exam, a test to see if you would still respond with grace when handed disappointment. And you did. You didn't curse them. You didn't expose them. You simply wept, prayed, and quietly questioned your worth. Beloved, heaven wept with you. But the time for tears is coming to an end. Now is the time for restoration, for divine reversal. You are stepping into a season where people will honor your presence the first time. You will not have to repeat yourself. You will not have to prove your value. The very atmosphere around you is shifting because your spirit is no longer tolerating what it used to. And I must tell you that is not weakness, that is spiritual maturity. Your peace is no longer negotiable, your light is no longer hidden, and your path is being cleared as we speak. Even now, as you read these words, something is breaking in the realm you cannot see, a chain, a soul tie, a false loyalty, and it is releasing you into divine alignment.